Tēnā koutou te iwi, nau mai hara mai ki te pai. This is the podcast where we talk about te ao Māori from an intergenerational perspective. What do I mean by intergenerational? Well, ko Stacey Morrison ahau.
And guilty, I am her father, James Daniels. Kia ora.
Guilty, but also innocent as well. But the kōrero today will be rich. It will go around all of these different areas, and we're talking about Kapa Haka. We're talking about te ihi, te wehi, te wana, the pride, the passion of Kapa Haka, right from schools to our competitions, to Te Matatini, to te ao. And we have amazing people to speak to this kaupapa here today.
And on my left is Monaghan Roberts, flash name, also known as Moni, but one of the guns of Kapa Haka across Aotearoa. You're a member of Te Hekenga Ārangi, but you started your Kapa Haka journey in Waitaha in Canterbury, which is not known for its Kapa Haka. How did that happen?
Oh, shots fired already.
Tēnā kōrero.
Kia ora.
Te Māori nganui ki te noho, ki wai nganui o tātou, ki te kōrero, e pāna ki ngā mahi a hine rehia a tāne rore. Huge thank you. I'm very honoured to be here amongst greatness. But to answer your question, I grew up here in Quake City, and basically my love for Kapa Haka stemmed mai te kura. Growing up in bilingual units and that, and Kapa Haka was a gateway for me to connect to my identity and who I am. For Waitaha not necessarily being known for being at the highest standard of Kapa Haka currently today, I think every rohe has its own standard and its own hierarchy, so to say.
Okay.
No mai, whakatau mai. Ki taku taha nei, tētahi marae kura o te ao Kapa Haka, me te ao whānui pāpāho, Blake ihi mai ra, nau mai, piri mai.
Tēnā koe o tira, tēnā tātou, i tēnei tuahuranga, tēnā rawa atu koutou, ka matu ngā ringa me ngā waiwai o te kaupapa, tautoko anei tēnei kaupapa. It's awesome to be back.
Yeah.
It's awesome to be representing my Ngāi Tahu side today on this podcast and sharing hopefully what are some cool yarns about Kapa Haka, one of my deepest passions in life.
Even though you have a sibling who has a little podcast about Kapa Haka sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes, but sometimes I think he's wrong too in his reckon, so let's clear it up.
Whakatikehea. Because in terms of Kapa Haka, Blake, I mean, not only as a performer, beautiful performer in angitū at this time, but also you found yourself on the other side in terms of organisation, Matatini nei, and arranging Kapa Haka.
Yeah, so because I love Kapa Haka so much, one of the most formative memories I have of Kapa Haka, and kind of where my passion, or I don't know if it's passion or not, but is of my whole entire family, our 4 siblings and our crazy parents, who at the time we were living in Mitimiti. So I'm from Ngāi Tahu all the way down. I'm rough, tough and from Bluff, but I'm also all the way from Mitimiti, which is at the top, the tippity top of the North Island in Te Tai Tokero. So at a point there growing up, mum and dad were travelling every single weekend from Mitimiti all the way to Auckland, which meant for all of us, we were taking 6-hour drives back and forth every weekend for the love.
Ko te Kapa Haka
Sometimes, mo te Kapa Haka tonu. Mum and dad were in Ngā Tapu ai o Mataoho, adult group back in the 2000s. But yeah, one of my most formative memories of Kapa Haka is travelling and how deep the passion runs for lots of us, mum and dad included, and travelling 6 hours plus to get to a noho with 4 kids in tow. Oh man, and nothing's really changed for me too. My tamariki are always at wānanga with us. I think Kapa Haka is so beautiful, but that's kind of led me to do other things as well. So yes, I work in media and do all of that, and I was lucky enough to produce Te Matatini in Wellington, so learning Kapa Haka from the other side and watching it that way. I've also done a master's paper in Kapa Haka judging. Did we know that exists?
How?
Exactly. Awa nui arangi, mihi nui ana ki a koutou. But I like to know Kapa Haka from every single angle. And so broadcasting, performing, kids now are doing it. Mum and dad have done it. It's a whānau affair. All of my siblings, we have a healthy sibling rivalry at the moment with all the multiple groups that we're in. But aroha nui ana ki te kaupapa kāmatu. Ai, tautoko ana i o kōrero, bro. Ātāhua te noho, me te kōrero ngātahi mo tēnei mea te Kapa Haka.
Yeah, so as we're talking about this, actually, I think, so did your whānau, how many top 10 groups did you have in Matatini?
Yeah, well, this year it was a bit of I don't know, the whānau group chat was popping off, let's just say that. Shay, the eldest of all of us, him and his wife are in Ngāti Rangi wehi, who I believe, oh my God, here we go, they came second or third. Anyway, doesn't matter because we didn't, so it doesn't matter. Shane Kahu and Ngāti Rangi wehi, with my nieces as well, who are staunch supporters of our Ngāti Rangi wehi whānau. My sisters are in Ngā Tūmanako currently, so both of them perform there along with their partners, and my tamariki go to Hoani Waititi, so again, all connected back to the marae, and I am in Angitu. So we have in our small whānau, just in my own immediate whānau, mum and dad competing against each other. So can you imagine my whare every morning? Who's your favourite team? To my daughters is a favourite question we like to ask during Kapa Haka season.
Yes, and let's just add as well that you wore my whakakai pōna on stage.
And I don't think I've thanked you yet, but honestly, I felt so pretty, and half of what we do up on that stage, you got to be as confident as you can, and look pretty, feel pretty, and perform pretty is what I say. So thank you very much.
Oh, kei te pai, kei te pai. Pretty or fierce? Engari tuatahi nei, I think to start off, let's share a little bit, because we're intergenerational here, although Blake, I don't know, you're not the rangatahi for a change. Oh. E hi o tau, Moni?
Rua te kaumātoru.
Okay, he wins on this occasion, yeah. Okay, so let's speak to a formative tamariki kind of level memory in terms of Kapa Haka. What's one of your first memories?
I think one of the first memories that I have with Kapa Haka is here in Aotearoa, back in the days, I should say. In the early 2000s, there was a festival, a cultural festival here in Christchurch, and you'd have all the different cultures within Arohe, everything from Māori, Pasifika, to even we had the Irish dancing in that, and they have the big mingi hair, and they do the tap dancing. And I remember back in 2007, 2008, my kura hatoopani, we get up and we're all 5 and 6 years old, and we go to do tahu pōtiki. And as we begin to haka, we just have a look to the left and we can see a big screen and we're all on there. And I just remember going, wow, this is mean. Oh, I'm killing it. But I remember that was me and all of my bros standing beside me, and that was a pivotal moment that I remember, and I was thinking, wow, this is such a wicked buzz.
You literally felt 20 metres tall.
Yes, yeah.
And you looked it. Kora Pops, we might go a little bit further back for you, not 2007.
Okay, last century we're talking here. So the Daniels whānau were one of the few Māori families in Christchurch back in the 60s, let's call it the 60s. And so we were often wheeled out by my parents at parties that they would have with half G's and all that sort of stuff. And we'd have to do action songs. And as a kid, and I still to this day don't know where this comes from, but we used to do potini. Is it potini?
Potini.
Potini ki te rua re re ha. Aue kapa ki te rua re re ha. So the skinny little kids doing the action songs, and that was my introduction to Kapa Haka. And then I got into Kapa Haka, I continued, and that's one of the reasons why Stacey's here today. But we'll get to that later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Plot twist.
Foreshadowing.
Kapa Haka, family and love.
Yes, it is everything. And so a formative memory for you, or a waiata that sticks out?
For me, we're a strong taitokero whānau, and we all performed at one point for the same team, senior team, mum, dad, Shay, older brother, my two sisters, myself, all together. And so it's not a formative memory because it wasn't too long ago, but a moment that does stick out and I think explains why Kapa Haka is so powerful was being able to perform with my entire family on stage and taking that photo prior to you going and taking the stage and competing against all the other teams, but really drilling in that, wow, I don't think that many people can say that. In a competitive competition, I was privileged enough to stand with my entire family tree. So, yeah, that's a big memory of mine and definitely where lots of my passion comes from.
The Kardashians of Kapa Haka.
Me koe hoki?
Well, I think probably Te Wakahuia, one of the ropu that, especially this was in the 90s, and we were broadcasting them. And so I felt like I was so close to greatness because I was. And, you know, some of those classics like, he mana rereke tō te wahine. And then when they came out in Rotorua, and I think it was the first Matatini, it wasn't called that at the time that I worked on, and they came out and they go, Aotearoa mihi maira.
Mihi maira.
It was a Lion King one. You weren't alive. Were you alive? You were little.
A few more years.
Wow, so this is intergenerational, really. But do you know what I'm talking about? Because one of the things that I feel sad about is we don't actually have a lot of that content online for you to see. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, yeah. There's different media platforms now, and in this day and age, it's so easy to just get swamped with content, which can be positive and negative. But one of the positives that I usually experience is seeing heaps of different clips on TikTok, on Instagram, Facebook, even YouTube, that people have recorded from those times, and they just pop up. And so, yeah, I have seen that performance, and then you have a look at all these different events that have been happening, these hakangahu performances where a lot of these older teams are bringing back and revitalising these items that were so iconic during the golden age or during whichever time that they performed them. So I am very lucky to know and get the reference. So
Well, that's the thing, because TikTok does show us what songs are iconic. You know, the ones that our tamariki, our kōtiro are singing, and they go, pēhea koe mō hiwai ki tēnei wai. It's like, because it's from actually our age.
Don't you worry about me, girl. That's
But when we talk about Kapa Haka, and I went to Aotearoa College recently for Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori, and I was watching the tamariki perform, and I'll call it what you will, but I got really emotional. You know, just sometimes when you watch Kapa Haka, and I couldn't, once it starts, couldn't stop. I just thought, tāua koutou.
Is that because it was another generation?
Yeah, just because they're so beautiful, and their wairua Māori is just flying, and they have no idea how beautiful they are. But how do you describe those moments when you feel like you're flying on stage, or what Kapa Haka really gives to you at a wairua level?
Yeah, I think, well, for me, he rere te aronga o te kai haka ki te rā o te kai mā takitaki. When I'm consuming Kapa Haka and it's hitting me in the face, if I'm at any competition, you can't help but love that power. Having 40 full voices pumping in your eardrums. Like, I just think that that's something that you're not going to get anywhere else. I think the difference, but then again, looking at it from a kai haka point of view, he rere kia no tērā, because we've got a different responsibility. We're doing a couple things at the same time, simultaneously. I think we're kind of superheroes. We're trying to win points and make sure that we don't stuff up anything, but also deeper, and especially that it influences my style of performance, really connecting with the audience, because then you do see a smile that comes from the person sitting directly in front of you, or you can really feel the energy. He mea taututu ne, you're giving energy out, and the energy from the crowd is coming back to you. So when you meet that sweet spot, it does something, you know, really deeply to your wairua, and I believe that's the importance of Kapa Haka. And it's not just the performance, it is making sure that energy is radiating around that little room. I prefer, well, he rerekē anō te wairua if you're watching it live, to watching it through the television
You
screen.
can't say that. You're literally in charge of the broadcast.
I know, but just to your point around iconic Kapa Haka and those golden years, I guess, and you felt you were so close to greatness, that's how I feel when I watch back those old tapes as well. Little things, as we both know in media, the tracking shot, looking up at these iconic wahine doing big pukana. We're not getting those things these days. So, he mea nui te titiro whakamuri kia haere whakamua. And so I think that's there are lots of things we can pull from the archives again and looking back that we can still bring back to the broadcast these days. So
We're hearing a lot about P, as in performance.
okay.
And when it comes
Where are we
to,
going?
when it comes to Kapa Haka, a lot of it is performative, to my mind, and I wonder where it sits in terms of tikanga these days.
Well, I mean, give us a competition and we'll try to win it. And so, you know what I mean? We've got to be real clear or I guess make the differentiation or distinction between competition Kapa Haka and it might be a tangihanga where someone will bust out a waiata on the poroporoaki. It might be a hakangaho where you get to stand with your nanny and your babies and all of that. That's totally different. So yeah, I think finding the blend between the two, but how awesome is Kapa Haka that it can be both?
Yeah. Personally, off the stage, I think there's so many things that Kapa Haka does for different people, how they would be on stage and who they were presenting themselves on stage would be different to off stage. And neither it was good nor bad, but you could tell that tikanga and performance were actually, not necessarily, but kind of contradicting each other on and off stage, because you would have your 6 months or however many months to prepare to perform for this 30 minutes, and then that's on who you were during that performance, and then once you come off, it's like that image that you had just portrayed and presented in front of, te Māori has now changed in relation with tikanga, kahuri te ao, kahuri te tikanga, kahuri te ao, kahuri te whakaaro. That was a kōrero given to me by one of the uncles from here.
So it's evolving.
It is evolving, and I think that's something that we're very fortunate to have with our tikangas, that they can evolve. They're not necessarily set in stone. They're able to adapt to fit the current times, and that's something that we're really good as Māori, is adapting and progressing.
And I guess one example, sometimes people understanding what's happening. So like in the karanga when on Te Rao Waitangi on Waitangi Day this year, and we were at Onuku, if you could understand the karanga, you knew they weren't karanga of welcome to the Prime Minister. So that's where tikanga is very much leading us and has a take in there as well. But then I was thinking about the ngaho aspect. We just had the kurereo and we started eating. Somehow it started happening, and I was going, Kaz, kiri waitingi, I need you to start the ropu, because I don't want people to be in Te Arawa and not have a ropu whakangaho while they're eating. You know what I mean? And she's the queenie, and so, it's about what the service and the tikanga we carry and what that provides on to people as well, isn't it?
Yeah. I personally, they're not mutually exclusive. They're one thing to me. So the way I perform and portray on stage, he mea nui there's competition Kapa Haka, but you don't want to be that person who just is there for the competition part. And then next week we've got a tangihanga, and you're not there, or there's another kaupapa and you're not there. So that's really big in Te Ao Kapa Haka. You kind of join your club, and whatever the club does, if tikanga nei, if it's whatever kaupapa it might be, the expectation is that you as a kaihaka and member of that club are there to, take upon the tikanga of that group. So I think they go together. And if it's one without the other, then what are we doing somewhat?
Yeah. Well, actually, when you use the word club, that's probably relevant to your kahurangi story as well, when it was really called a Māori Performing Arts Club, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, this was in the late 60s, early 70s in Christchurch, and most Māori were trade trainees that had come down from up north, and
Apart from the ngaitohu, ake.
yeah,
You're already
but because they had the polytech down here, and a lot of those boys met and married people down here and stayed down here, so they populated the area. But there was we called it a Māori club. And a lot of those trade trainees were part of this club, but also it was multicultural in that Stacey's grandparents, who'd come out from England, they were very, very strong supporters of Te Ao Māori, and they ended up hooking me in to get with their daughter, and became Stacey. But the thing is that there were a number of English people in this Māori club, along with the trade trainees. But we had a tour group, and we used to tour literally around the country with this group, and it was like a variety show with haka or Kapa Haka in it as well. And the leader was a guy named Fred Manahi. I think it was Fred Manahi, and he was a classic showman. And so he was the leader, and he'd get us into these places. We'd go to Nelson and book out a hall, and then people would come along, nearly all Pākehā, and watch us. And that was my introduction, or my thing about doing Kapa Haka. And when I look back on it, I sort of go, well, it's kind of quaint rather than maybe even cute. What I mean, you know?
And I guess the opposite of that is elite. So tell us about the elite experience once you're at Matatini, and like you say, you're thinking about all ngā māka, you're thinking about making it to the top 10 and winning. Tell us about that elite experience. I don't know, and I'm unlikely to ever know about.
It's intense. The life of a elite Kapa Haka performer for competition is intense. I'm talking, 12 plus noho, and noho consists of a whole weekend, Friday night to Sunday afternoon, of blood, sweat and tears. Like, we have big CrossFitters in our team, and they say CrossFit has nothing on a Kapa Haka noho, because it's maintaining that consistent movement all day, and we are sweating literally head to toe all day. It's a great way to lose the few kgs during a campaign, but it's intense. I don't know how else to explain it, but we're waking up before the Kapa Haka even begins, leading up to, we do a big WOD, a workout, a CrossFit WOD, and a big run, and then we get into the Kapa Haka, and then closer you get to the performance, you start top dropping, which is a word that all Kapa Haka people know, which are top to bottom run-throughs of your performance. So a performance is usually half an hour, so do that about 5 times, and you're sure to break a sweat, I can tell you that much. But Kapa Haka for me, currently, and correct me if I'm wrong, would be the only, performative dance or indigenous dance that does everything. We sing, we dance, we move, we express, we have expression, we have to do it all at the same time. And so, there might be hula, and we draw, I guess, inspiration from those things, but I don't see them singing. And I don't see them harmonising and trying to keep a note, and it's all of these things. So thinking about Kapa Haka, that's just physically. Then there's the mental side of it, which I think is important to understand too. For a top elite group, there could be hundreds of people trying to get into this one group, and so the reality of you can only have 40 performers on stage somewhat mentally takes a toll on lots of kaihaka as well. It gets quite intense towards the choosing of the team. That's also a process that isn't always nice, isn't the thing that we want to do to people, isn't the way you want to treat people as well in those processes. But Kapa Haka as a whole, whether you're a tutor, a kaihaka, it's definitely given me the most life experience, useful experience in all of my jobs. The way I communicate to people as a tutor, I've taken that into my career as well. If I can't communicate the same message to 40 people, that has the 40 people will include my mum, my auntie, also a 16-year-old girl. How do I communicate the same message to 4 different generations? So for me, Kapa Haka is a vehicle to carry all of these important life skills as well, if you choose to see it that way. So it's very intense at the high level. but it's still beautiful.
Well,
At
you
the-
do
at-
it.
At the very basic level, Monaghan, what is Kapa Haka for you? Is it cultural or is it being on stage?
Yeah, or put simply, it's everything. You know, that's every time you hear waiata, you know, you can feel the emotions coming from whoever's singing. Whenever you see the tāne, you know, when they haka, when they wiri, you can feel, you know, you can feel their emotions, mai tō rātou puku. And I think in its simplest form, how I see it, haka is Māori movement. It's how we move through the world. It's how we express ourselves, our emotions. It's how we connect to our tūpuna, or a way that we connect to our tūpuna through waiata. And also there's everything that Blake has said is completely true. And there's also te taha wairua that you feel every time that you run through. And whether you're performing at an elite level or at a ngāhau level, ka mau tonu, ka rongo tonu i taua wairua. You feel the wairua of your tūpuna when you perform, when you say their words, when you call on your ona tūpuna during a waiata, when you haka about tahu pōtiki, ka rangona i taua wairua, you can feel him as you convey and portray his wairua in your deliverance. So that's why I think, in its simplest form, haka is everything. Yeah.
Kia ora. I a koe korero ana mo tō tātou tupuna tahu pōtiki. I think about how much was lost to us as ngaitahu. You know, we did suffer a terrible loss of our waiata, of our korero.
Land.
Yeah, well, there's land, yep, tuatahi nei. But also pātere o ngā mea tawhito. But that has given forth some new compositions. And so I'd be interested in how it is for you, Blake, as a, you know, someone living kei waho i te rohe. How have you observed, you know, ngaitahu waiata coming up, or how do you participate in it? How does it feel for you, taurehere nei?
Oh, I mean, ngaitahu's got a few bangers, eh? Like,
Anthems.
We've grown up. Ahakoa i noho ahi tere taku whānau, ko māmā tera, ahakoa te kaupapa i ngana ki te whakatō i ngā kōrero tuku e ho o ngai tahu tonu ki roto i a mātou. Nō reira, some of the songs that I do remember growing up, tahu pōtiki, taku tūpuna, you know, like...
And I was in the car the other day trying to do the highest one. I was going, this is good, I'm by myself.
Hey. See, there's something so beautiful in the simplicity of those waiata. So I do believe that, you know, like my iwi up north and like other iwi as well, sometimes I think the big cities take, you know, take away from the littler regions around, and all the focus goes in the big cities. But we've got some bangers too, and it's time for us to revitalise those and give them a new life. There's nothing wrong with a bit of a ko te whirika, o te taura. Beautiful songs, composition-wise, all of that. So I do think, like other iwi around, ngaitahu are starting to see the benefits and the fruits of what Kapa Haka can do, not only for you personally, but at a revitalisation level as a community. He waka noiho te Kapa Haka. Kapa Haka is a vehicle that transmits or takes, you know, te ao Māori, te ao Māori, tikanga Māori, whānau, whakapapa to the next level. So big advocate, and I think, I would say observing from the outside looking in, it's getting, and I think it's getting more prominent here, based solely on the number of people, number of groups in the competitions now. That's growing year on year on year. So obviously, kei te rongo ngā iwi o konei I te hirahiratanga o te Kapa Haka.
I just want to add in something strategically that I know that Paulette, Charisma, Hana, what they did was actually go, okay, these are the waiata that are iconic and that people always sing. Yeah. What are the hanga momo? What are the āhuatanga, what is it about those waiata? And they went, it's simple, this is the phrasing, it needs to be like this. And they made waiata like ko te whirika, and it works. But I'm interested for you, Māori, because I think that might have been different from your experience. If you're 7 doing tahu potiki, did you perceive that there was a difference of what we were, the waiata here, that there was a dearth, or there's not a lot of waiata, or was it always just like tahu potiki ki te ao?
Well, I have a funny story actually. So I wasn't aware that competitive Kapa Haka existed at the different ages. I only knew of Te Matatini in 2013, and I knew of regionals in 2012 when my mother joined, Aropu, ngā manua tāne. But I did not know that competitive Kapa Haka also existed in secondaries and in primaries. Mainly because at the time that I was at primary school, the rūwhenua happened, kaukati ngā mahi Kapa Haka, because it's, these buildings are, you can't go into them, they need to be rebuilt. So Kapa Haka was actually put on a hold during the time that I was transitioning into high school, and that wasn't until 2016 when we went up and we actually watched Nats on the East Coast, and that was an amazing experience. But
Is that your awakening?
But this was also my awakening, because we were watching Te Huarewa, which was the team that placed first the previous year here in Waitaha. They were representing Waitaha, and then we have Matua Miru McLean go, boy, we're gonna do tahu potiki. Hey, hakatautoko. And I was like, yeah, mean. And I was like, everyone's going to get up here and do tahu potiki. I can't wait. We get up, tahu potiki. And I'm looking around and everyone's looking at us. And I'm like, why aren't you getting up to hakatautoko to the bros? And I realised, they're not from Christchurch. They're not from Norohi. They don't know who these people, So I was
Don't know our jam.
that was my rude awakening, I should say. But, growing up here, in Aotearoa, it was always tahu potiki, it was always ko te reo Māori. So I grew up around that, and then that was the first time that I was ever exposed to, I guess, not everyone knows what you know. And I was like, true. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Yeah.
You were in a different country called Te Matatini.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, I remember that. That's actually in a pivotal moment. My haka journey, was actually getting their rude awakening. So yeah, found out we weren't the centre of the world.
Well, yes, that is very rude. I remember, do you remember this, Kura Pops, on Māori Language Week, you were on News Talk ZB, and you said, okay, we're going to choose, they had a song of the day or something on a Friday, right? Oh, yeah. And you'd all choose a Māori language song. And I thought, here we go. And I'd always brace myself going, here we go, here's going to have the racist kōrero coming in, which he did sometimes. But do you remember Tyler chose Whakaria Mai, Sir Howard Morrison?
Yes.
Remember what happened?
What?
People were like texting and going, I'm crying.
Oh, yes, yeah.
This reminds me of my grandparents. This is us. This is New Zealand at its best. So waiata has a power, doesn't it, to unify us in Kapa Haka?
Look, Kapa Haka has a power, we know that, and we've talked about the competition side of things. What do you think about one of the most widely broadcast Kapa Haka, that being the All Blacks? How do you feel about what they do at the beginning of tests?
I mean, I'll chime in here. I think they need more practice. No, it's just, like they can, it's a big respect thing. It's he whakau te nui. I think that we can take the time out. If we are going to do it, let's do it properly.
Let's not race through it.
It's not a race. Learning the history of it. Not saying that I know that they don't know the history of it, but
they get told it. But they don't know it.
Exactly. And so for me, it's a respect thing. And so when I see them doing it, what Stacey was talking about, that feeling you get watching, it would happen through a haka. Well, I'm not getting that myself, so that's my
good.
thoughts.
I thought you were going the other way. I was going to go, I suppose I'm on my own here. But,
interested now.
I find it really annoying. I don't like kamate for cultural reasons.
Yep.
And I don't like that they cut the words, you know, they don't use all the words if they're going to do it. I don't like the stance. I think it looks bloody ridiculous. I don't mind, what's the other one? Kapa
Opango.
I don't have too much of an issue with that, but as you say, they race through it. It just drives me mad. I can't even watch it anymore. And that's a bit of an unusual stance. But what about you?
I'm just there for the rugby. Love rugby. Love watching rugby at the highest level. That's us. We'll get the next World Cup.
Ka pai. Actually, talking about the highest level, let's talk about competition points. Because, you know, one of the things I feel at Matatini is like, okay, you've got all your things that you're judged on and you know that. But where is the mark that tells us about how you impact people, our wairuani? Is that there? Or what are some of the areas of marking and competition that maybe we could consider? And Moni, this is a hard one. We're throwing you in it and you're 23 years old.
Yeah.
Well, there isn't one. It's not something, and you know, of course, as a judge, there's probably sometimes that you want to write, oh, I didn't feel anything, -5, but you can't. But you can't. So then we go back to judging things that we can see. And you know, each critic has their own view of what the rules should and shouldn't be, or what criteria should be used. But in terms of how to judge the wairu and the impact it feels, I particularly as a judge, if I am lucky enough or fortunate enough or I don't know, silly enough sometimes, to say yes to judge, my golden rule is I'll judge to a 99. And if it hits my wairu, then you get the 100. But only that 1 point is my, you know, decider, I guess, if I feel something. He roto I taku whatu manawa, I rongo te whatu manawa ko tahirau.
Oh, okay.
So that's how I do it. But each judge has their own way of doing it too. It might come in the form of those actions looked great and you're trying to justify each of your marks. But when we're getting into the mechanics of judging, you're right. Currently as it stands in the criteria, it's up to you how you decide to judge as long as it's justified, and groups don't really like that comment though. My wairua didn't feel it, -5 and you've lost the competition. So I do fear for, I don't know, how similar Kapa Haka is becoming across the board, because we're all being judged on the same thing. So we're going to get to a point where we're all the best at doing the wiri and we're all the best at doing the takahi, but what about the wairua? And that's how...
And the momo a iwi.
Tika.
Yeah.
What about you, bro?
I think the People's Choice implemented this year as a great reflection and a great perspective, judge's perspective, I should say, because you've got those that are there to just take it all in, and then you have those that sit with their umbrellas and their shades, and you know, they're also judging as well.
Whakawa.
But I think that People's Choice, being able for the people to be able to choose who they thought deserved the best item or the best performance and whatever that is. So ka miki te kuru maru tea, I eke, I riro taua.
Also very TikTok famous though.
Oh, very.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen more coverage on them than I did on Ngāti Whakaue.
Tika.
Oh, right.
Tika.
Oh, good. But, you know, it's the People's Choice Award.
But on Ngāti Whakaue, not to, not have any bias at all.
They were mean.
But did you cry? I cried. I cried twice.
Well, I was preparing in my hotel room, so maybe through the camera, I definitely, me pehe kore ai, I tātou tōnu, ko korobon, hoki tērā, I ngaro ki te pō, no reira, e tika ana, kia whakaihuwaka a Ngāti Whakaue, me tērā hōtaka, as another competing team vying for the championship. What Ngāti Whakaue took to Te Matatini, I don't know. I think it was a big moment for Kapa Haka. We're in the pursuit of what we believe to be a winning strategy. Let's add a drummer and let's do some flips over here. Let's all be unified and witty our hardest. And Ngāti Whakaue comes out and says, Ana, oreo, you know, very simple. Kapa Haka, and it wins.
That stagecraft of going, this is a moment and the tour is going to move slowly and deliberately and with grief, and you go, woof.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get pulled in.
It's a moment.
Yeah.
Iconic.
Moni, how many matatini have you stood in now?
This year was my third one, yes.
Overachiever. 23, wow. But what would you say to te hongai e mataki maina if people haven't done it? What does it offer young people like you, that sort of experience?
I think you don't truly get the bug until you have that first stand. You don't really, people can tell you, you know, it's like this, you'll feel this. When you do your stage check, that's when it really starts to build, but you don't actually really grasp and fully understand what they say or what they mean until you actually do it yourself. So I think the only thing that I can say is that if you have an interest or are keen to pursue haka at Te Matatini, just do it. It's only roughly 6 months of your life. Give it a go. And if you don't crack it, you'll get the next one. Easy. Kachi. I think everyone should give it a go because there's so many benefits to doing haka at a high standard that it makes you change habits, it makes you change your lifestyle, you start eating a bit better, you start doing all these other things to help you train for those harsh grueling trainings in the weekend where you're spending 10 to 16 hours on the floor. So yeah, I think if you have a passion for haka, tōku, go for it.
I'm going to take us from one extreme to the other. What are your thoughts on haka being done in pubs in England and around the world?
Who's leading it?
Drunk New Zealanders.
Yeah, true.
I mean, it's maybe a loaded question, but it is part of our cultural identity.
Yeah.
And you can go into a pub in England and there are a bunch of people in there and you could call out, "Tutira mai ngā iwi."
Oh, where?
You'll get it if there is a New Zealander in there, right? And is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah, it depends for me in what context it's being done in, and so if it is as simple as everybody's having a good time and tūtira mai comes out, I mean we're all guilty of singing a tūtira mai at a party, aren't we? Or doing a haka for that reason as well. So I just think at the core of it, kind of similar to my All Blacks comment, because that would be my first question is. Who taught you, or where did you get your inspiration from? If it's the All Blacks, all good. But just be respectful with the way that you're doing it, if you have no idea at all. But otherwise, for a bit of a good time out in the pub, singing a few songs with your friends, I think, oh, how awesome.
Mani he whakaro tāpiri.
Yeah. I've always thought haka's contextual. And so with that, as long as it's a tika, pono, kei kura te aroha, all good. As long as it's coming from those three places, if it ticks those three things, tika, he pono, he aroha, then yeah.
Also, one thing that's interesting is, so you're doing that in England on your OE, but will you do that back here? If you are in Christchurch down at on the strip.
I have done a few haka at the Hilly in Hamilton, so...
You're allowed. No, but it's kind of that. It's like, are you just wheeling this out now because it looks cool in London?
Yeah.
Haka ki te ao, have you both performed internationally? Just as a...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last year I went to China to perform at the Beijing Tourism Festival, where we were treated like absolute kings and queens, I guess. There's the saying, so when I hear you talking about going to Nelson and all of those things with your Māori club, have piu will travel. Yeah. And so understanding for everybody watching, kia toa e ngā kōrero te brau, Kapa Haka isn't just about the competition. There are massive opportunities that come from Kapa Haka too. I would have never gone to China, if I'm being completely honest, if it wasn't for Kapa Haka. The rest of our club were fortunate to go to the Merry Monarch this year in Hawaii. An opportunity. Merry Monarch has inspired how many umpteen Kapa Haka performances, and our group got to perform on that stage. So Kapa Haka does take you places. Wehi, my niece, Atarita, she's in Italy performing at the Colosseum. Like, Kapa Haka is amazing, and for those reasons I think we should be showing our culture to as many people that want to see it.
Yeah, have piu will travel. Ko tai ki te mutungo tā tātou noho tahi, hui tahi, but can we, because this is all about intergenerational sharing, what's one thing that you will remember from today? Ngā kōrero kua whakatakotoria, tētahi kōrero ka titia ki te ngākau, something you'll remember from today that we've learned from each other across our generations.
Well, I'm not going to lie, the moment that I'm going to go home with is us singing Tahu Poteki, because it's so important, right? It's such a simple thing that we've done together, but really shows, look, all of us knew that song, and together we created, what are we? Quartet, am I right? Yeah. We're a quartet of
the Morrison Quartet.
There you go, all of these things. So that is a moment that speaks volumes for me. One, connecting back with everybody here, haven't been or contributed much to the Kapa Haka scene down in Ngaitahu land, but I definitely would love to in the future. So, ei mihi nui ana ki a korua, that's one memory that I will take home.
He tono kei te haere, don't worry.
I love meeting new people. I love conversating and talking about everything and nothing at the same time. But I do enjoy listening more. So it's been really awesome to have a listen to the different perspectives throughout the ages here with different experiences around Kapa Haka, on, off stage, front, back, left, right, wherever. And I've really enjoyed and really appreciative to have just been here, a part of this conversation. And that's my takeaway.
Tēnā koe.
I've loved being next to a couple of guns. I love that expression. Comes back from the last century. They used to use that term a lot. And but it's made me think about where Kapa Haka is in our society, in our country. And it's not just performative. I'm pleased to hear that. But not that I came in here thinking, it's only performative. That I wasn't grumpy about it. I was just curious as to how you see it, where you see it. And so it's opened my mind to where it sits these days, because when I was your ages, it wasn't quite so important, I suppose, in lots of ways in our society. So we've come a long way, and I'm pleased to have been part of that journey. Potini ki te ruare. I was so skinny back then.
Those were the days, ne? So I think that's the thing. I can picture you. I can just picture you as a little 7-year-old, and then catching your peripheral vision of yourself on the stage, and that's where you were meant to be. Whaia tonutia te rai te kahurangi. But you're both examples of the brilliance that comes from Kapa Haka, the original AI, ancestral intelligence that we express through our Kapa Haka. Tēnā koutou katoa.